So you think personally, as an expert, that it is very highly unlikely that the Vilnius NATO will change the things and Ukraine will become a NATO member, a member of alliance? Do you think this is not going to happen in the nearest future, mid-term, long-term?
I think this is not going to happen before the end of the war.
Right.
And I'm not even sure that it will happen after the war is over, because I still see the same approach from the NATO countries as it has been before the invasion in 2022. They want to minimize risks and they want to avoid the situation in which they will have to choose either to fulfill the obligations under Article 5 and fight directly Russia in case it launches another war against Ukraine, or dissolve NATO. That is a bad choice. They don't want to make it, and because of that, many of them don't want Ukraine in NATO.
Yeah, so it's better not to make any choice at all than a bad one. Is that the thing?
From a political, pragmatic perspective, probably,
exactly.
Yes.
Zelensky's peace formula. What do you think about it?
Well, it is a good position for start of any negotiations about how war can be over. The problem is that there is no room and no space for any compromises. It's not probably the problem, but this is a specific feature of this peace plan. We have maximized goals in this war, and because of that, because Russians are always also having maximized goals in this war, I see no zone of possible agreement, and I see no perspective of rapid resolution of this conflict. I think this is most likely to be a prolonged war. But I think Zelensky has no choice, and this is the only way you can put your conditions or your
stakes.
The only possible just and sustainable peace can be reached if all the points of this peace formula are carried out. So that is the only way of achieving justice in this case. Not always justice is something which is not always obligatory, not always important in international politics. But for us, it is obviously a number one priority. So because of that, there is no alternative.
Exactly. So do you think this is a realistic way to achieve peace and just peace? The formula is, but what would you suggest? Would you add anything to it? Would you change anything within it so to make it more fast-coming, best, close to reality? Because I think personally that you said maximize goals, you mean the putting everything on it. I mean to maximizing the stakes. Is that what you meant?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, right. So I think that it should be done. Exactly. I mean, we don't have any choice. We have to aim for the victory. But you're saying that the formula, that this is the most likely to be a prolonged war, but the formula is good and is liable and workable. But I think I can feel that you would love to change some points or add on top of it. Is that the case, or I'm just mistaken?
I think that there is no way to change it, no realistic way of changing anything. But what we have to probably concentrate on is that on making this formula valid and important, not only for us, but for as many countries as possible, to create the conditions under which others would subscribe under this formula without any additional clauses, without any reservations, without any kind of minimizing risk strategies. Create the conditions under which China would be interested in that formula just as much as we are. And that would be a decisive factor for bringing the war to an end.
French President Emmanuel Macron did great things during the Globe 6 summit. Two great things, a security forum in Bratislava. First, he apologized for France not taking Russian aggression seriously enough before the war broke out. Secondly, he said that Western countries should provide Ukraine with tangible and reliable, I just quoted, security guarantees, as it is now resisting the invasion of Russia and defending the whole of Europe with a large number of weapons, writes Le Monde. The French leader emphasized that the approval of security guarantees for our state on a multilateral basis is in the interest of the collective West in particular and the world in general. According to Macron, this issue will be subject of collective discussions during the coming weeks, from today until the July NATO summit in Vilnius. What was the incentive for such a statement? I mean, 2 months have not passed since Macron's trip to China, where he said that you need to put everyone at the negotiating table and all that. What happened to the guy?
Well, that's what people in Bratislava would like to hear. And certainly the audience in Central and Eastern Europe is much more concerned about Russia than the audience in France. And he's saying quite obvious things that, well, Ukraine should be supported. Nobody doubts it. And but the support can arrive in different ways and can look differently. Supporting Ukraine with arms supplies is one thing. Supporting Ukraine with with money is another thing. Right. Supporting Ukraine with security guarantees is a third thing. So all that is open to discussions. And he's absolutely right that before NATO summit in Vilnius, there will be a lot of bargaining discussions inside NATO in looking for a response. What exactly should be provided to Ukraine in order to help it withstand Russian aggression?
Well, one thing we already got. We got an apology from French president, which means something.
That's in my view, that's the easiest thing. Just like in case of Germany to say that their previous policy towards Russia was wrong. When you know the result, it is much easier to judge your previous.
Absolutely. Still, to admit that is sometimes a personal responsibility for a very concrete politician, and that means something.